My name's John Sophocleus. I'm an instructor of economics. I taught mostly at Clemson University and Auburn University. Worked for Ford Motor Company as a warranty and policy administrator for 10 years. In February of 1998, two bureaucrats, a state highway worker and a federal relocation officer, knocked on our door claiming they were going to widen U.S. Highway 280 West. Our home that we once had ended at a T at the end of College Avenue, and they went through the process of explaining how they would go about doing so. And to give you the abbreviated version, what makes our case rather interesting is that we did not argue the same way that the IJ argued the Kelo decision. Our argument was very simple. Whatever the stated public purpose is must indeed take place. If it does not, we have already engaged in the case law that shows possession reverts back to the original property holder. We went into Judge Nix's district court, and the highway department claimed that they were going to take our house to raise it immediately to build a road. And when we made a stand for our rights, they didn't like that. There were arguments over $10,000 a day fines if we stayed in our home. The short version is we left our house, and they did not raise it immediately. They lived in it. Now let me make that extremely clear, gentlemen. I got to drive by my home that I held legal title to, was paying taxes on, to watch other people living in it. Now when they engaged in their perjury and lied later on when we made our way into the federal courts and said, oh no, we really didn't live in it, we literally had to put the power bill under their nose, showing them using power. Now to give you some of the strategy, why did they do this? Well, most folks have a mortgage. We had paid that home off in '95, so we were positioned better to fight. So they expect you to pay a mortgage, pay to live someplace else, paying your taxes, paying for representation. Well, most folks don't have the ability to survive that financially, not to mention mentally and spiritually and on a whole array of other margins. I'm blessed with some very dear friends, folks at church that helped. My bride is just amazing to endure what we've endured these last almost dozen years. Now, our case has already went to the United States Supreme Court. We've won unanimously. The United States Supreme Court said, yes, you have to give Mr. Sophocleus his day in court, and remanded it back to the East Middle District. But Judge Myron Thompson sat on it for about 4 years. And then a couple of months ago, just basically took all the Rooker-Feldman stuff that had been killed once unanimously by the Supreme Court and put in two other little neat words, state law preclusion and res judicata, which were also argued and lost 3 times earlier in summary judgments. So effectively what Judge Myron Thompson is doing is he's thumbing his nose at the federal court, and really the money isn't the issue, the civil rights are the issue. And I think there are a lot of folks who find me a little bit confusing in that regard. I really don't care about the money that's offered to me in settlements or anything else. What I want is to know that the next property I own, it's sort of extraordinary now in retrospect. There was a little red Japanese maple that I used as my marker, that when the backhoe with its huge tracks were to crush that, that's where I was going to open fire. And as he got that close, I came out on the porch with my weapon. I had not pointed it at him yet, but he was about to run over that, and I was about to shoulder it. And the look on his face was pretty clear. He did not expect somebody to come out the door with something of that nature, and pulled away, which is thankfully what he did. I mean, the Second Amendment right, I can't tell you guys how terrible it is, where you literally have a huge earth-moving machinery coming at your house, basically just trying to scare you out. I mean, it wasn't the words that Congress shall not abridge my right to bear arms. It was actually having an M14 in my hand that day that brought me comfort. I think we're one of the first folks to bring a Third Amendment case in the federal courts in like 80 years. Right? I'm not supposed to quarter people in my home in times of peace without my consent. They were not in my home with my consent. As a matter of fact, in open court, it was said the house was going to be razed. Now, how can you raise it and live in it at the same time? Fourth Amendment, being secure in your persons and papers, I can't tell you. And how my bride endured that is amazing. People, poking their heads in your door and your windows, burning fires over your house. That black tube you see in front of my house there, bringing back bad memories. That's literally what I had to do so that we could just do the simplest of use of the bathroom, because they crushed the sewer line. Why? They wanted us out. I mean, the government in the Uniform Eminent Domain Code says they were responsible for me to have decent, safe, and sanitary housing. I promise you, gentlemen, they didn't care one whit whether we were decent, safe, or sanitary. They wanted us out of the way. I want them to not do this to other people. And I want them to be afraid that every door they knock on will be somebody who knows what their civil rights are and will defend them.